When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining me. We got another Trap House podcast here for you. Great guest today. Guy Groenewold's with us from Groenewold Fur and Wool Company. He's been on the show before. It's always a pleasure. He's full of knowledge. We're going to get some updates on kind of what the market's doing and things to look for this season. But before we do that, we got to give it up for the sponsors. We have Top Lot Stretcher Company with us. Their website is toplotstretcherco.com, and I've said it 100 times or more. Their adjustable stretchers are really great for putting up fur. They got a nice, clean website there. It's really easy laid out. They got DVDs, trapping supplies, stretchers, like I mentioned, stuff for the fur shed. You name it, they got it. So check out toplotstretcherco.com. And we also have Weeby Knives, weebyknives.com. There is numerous knives to choose from, whether you're out in the field or in your skinning shop there. There's products there that can make your life a heck of a lot easier. Some tools to use. They even have the new fillet knife that's really sharp. Then, adjustable blade type knives, you name it, they got it. Check it out, weebyknives.com. And J3 Outdoors. Check out their website, j3o.com, maker of the Hags Bracket. Another really super sharp website. They lay it all out there real easy for you. They got beaver rod ends, the Hags Bracket, the Hags Spring Clip, the tail hook. There's a bunch of different stuff on there. I'm really a big fan of their universal lock, so check that out. And also Trapline Coffee. Definitely, if you're a coffee drinker, you want to get a cup of this before you head out on the trap line. It's traplinecoffee.com. They got 3 options there. You feel like they got a Trapline blend, a Kodiak blend, and a cherry red blend. All affordable. Good, clean coffee here. And what's great about it is a portion of the money goes to help fight for our rights to trap. So what could you lose? And last but not least, HoosierTrapperSupply.com. We got everything for you. Home of the Top Dog Predator Bait and Jet Fuel Predator Lure. We got starter kits, lure packages, stuff for your fur shed, traps, you name it, we got it. So HoosierTrapperSupply.com. Pick out all your goodies. And I think that covers it. Let's go talk to Guy and see what's going on with the fur market. Thanks. All right. Welcome back to another Trap House podcast. We got a great guest. Been on before. Guy Groenewold's with us. Groenewold Fur and Wool Company. He's going to give us a little update on kind of what's going on with the market and some other good stuff. So welcome back, Guy.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So what, you got good news or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you looked, overall at, the world situation, as far as, our 2 main customers are, Russia and China. And, things don't look, particularly, appealing in both those countries right now. I would say that maybe even both of them are maybe not quite as bad as you might think. China, yes, has lockdowns. Our customers do a lot of business online, and although that works, where it doesn't work is when you're in the mink business, and they sell a lot of coats, online in the mink business, but they still rely, heavily on the stores in the ranch mink business. But when you start to do online business in China, in the wild fur realm, our numbers are so small relative to, to the ranch mink that, it can make a bit of a difference. We can consume some units, and although we have the price pressure on us from the ranch mink, we still can, move some.
We still got you.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we're still selling, raccoons every day. The last couple days have been a little tough. because some of where our stores are in China, um, the skin stores, they've actually had some shutdowns in Xinji outside of Beijing. That's shut down right now. So yeah, that it's been a little slow the last couple of days, but really that's been kind of the only slowdown. And in Russia, we can't really deal directly with Russia, but there is still a fur business going on. There's some of our customers in China, certainly are still selling coats there, and I wouldn't say it's robust, but the business was not crazy before the war, and I think it's a little bit continuing, not too far off pace of what it was before. We just constantly are under the pressure of what a blue fox and ranch mink are selling for. That's our main problem.
So what's the status of ranch mink? Are they still selling down? I mean, and
Yeah,
not
yeah, they it's difficult to know exactly for sure what the numbers are. Last year, I don't know, there's somewhere around 10 million produced in the US, North America, and Europe. And this year I think is going to be somewhere around 7 million. But between Copenhagen and Saga, they still have 25, 26, 27 million mink in storage, which is a bit of a problem. And this past year, they didn't sell much early, like February, March, April, and then there wasn't a lot of skins in China. And the traditional manufacturing season is in August, and the market was kind of robust. We were actually selling a little stuff, some coon then too. And then the September round of sales came around, and they paid a little bit more, and then they got their skins here, and everything was shut down. So that market is really in a bad situation, because you might say they spent all their money in September, and they might not be able to sell the skins until next August. So you've got Copenhagen seems to want to shut down in the next 2 years. They want to be done. They don't produce any more mink, and they aren't taking any more mink, but they still have close to 20 million mink, and they claim they want to sell in the next 2 years. So that would mean 8, 9, 10 million mink coming online from them this year that would be kind of kicked out the door.
mm-hmm.
And so it would be tough for the market to accept that, and we see that on the price of ranch mink.
So Guy, if Copenhagen, they just will no longer exist, what's your best guess on how that will affect this whole fur industry?
Well, I mean, Copenhagen, less mink, I guess, is, in relative terms, is good. I mean, Copenhagen was, a power in the sense that they were, a marketing, they did place furs in places that, maybe they wouldn't have been placed without their, marketing prowess and their financial wherewithal. But, it would be nice to not have 20 million mink laying around all the time. And what that means for the fur business, I don't know. But it's just like in the 80s, when they had Copenhagen had so many mink on in storage, nothing ever returned to better prices until they finally sold those down. So it's a little similar situation.
So yeah, I guess in terms of mink, we're still facing a pretty uphill battle for at least a couple seasons yet.
It looks like an uphill battle for the next couple seasons. If you're selling a skin, and I hate to say that we're in an uphill battle, because if you're selling a skin that's not in direct comparison to a mink, you might be all right. For instance, a beaver, it has nothing to do with the Chinese ranch mink market, and it's all for hatters. So it's a very robust market. Unfortunately, it's for the bottom end of the market, with the historic bottom end of the market. So maybe the prices aren't just crazy on a beaver, but it's very robust as far as how much we can sell. And really the prices of hatters are at historical highs. It's just that has always been the bottom end of the market. So in other words, the bottom end of the market is now taking the entire crop of beavers. So that market is very good. But anything that competes directly with a ranch mink, like for instance a muskrat, a year ago we could send a muskrat into China and have it dressed it was a little bit of a gray area. But now there's just no way to do that. We got to go through Cambodia, and you have a little extra um, dressing charges, a little extra shipping. The Chinese style muskrat, like a fall style muskrat, the lighter weight stuff, it's literally unsaleable right now. You cannot sell it, and that's I've never seen that before. And in all my years in the fur business, you could always sell a muskrat, and you really can't. Some of the heavies you can sell right now, and but a muskrat just competes directly with a ranch mink, and the Chinese raised mink as well, and those mink are just selling for very cheap prices.
They don't produce a very good quality mink, though, correct? The Chinese.
That used to be true, but what happens is when the Chinese raise a mink, there's sort of two types, and they send them to the dressing factories before they're stretched and dried. They just skin them, and they go to the dressing factories in big frozen blocks. And when they come out, if they're there's some pretty sophisticated ranchers over there, and when they come out of dress, basically if they're good enough, they'll size them and call them European mink. If they sell them as unsized mink, in other words, males and females, then they're Chinese mink.
Oh,
so you can go into a dressing factory and see these mink after dress, and I mean, I'm not a mink expert, I wouldn't say, but I can't tell the difference between a really good Chinese mink and a Danish mink. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So there's more quote European mink on the market than there actually is, because the Chinese call theirs European mink.
How do they get by? They call them European style, or do they just call it European
mink?
No,
they call them European mink. They call them European mink. Yeah. But like a beaver doesn't compete directly. A raccoon in some ways doesn't totally compete directly. Although the mink price keeps it kind of cheap because because you always can use that mink if you want. But the raccoon is it's dyed crazy colors and made into kind of whimsical fashion items for younger people. So but we still have that mink hanging over our heads.
Yeah.
And with the blue fox, that's hanging over the heads of a raccoon market too, because raccoon is especially in the better sections is a trimming item, and blue fox are just if you think the mink market is bad, blue fox market is horrible. I mean, think about what those things, they're big as a wolf, and think about what they eat in a year, and sell them for $40 is just unbelievable.
So what's the future of is the raising foxes pretty much the same future as raising mink at this point, or is it?
Yeah, I think we're going to, we won't know here in the next 2 weeks. Actually, we'll find out a little bit about, what people in the ranch mink and ranch fox business have done as far as pelting out. Maybe we'll lose another third of the ranchers, and we're getting down to a level that in some ways we don't really want to get much below this. We'd like to have a robust selling season in China once, and use up some of these goods, and 7-8 million mink is just not that many mink for a country the size of China, if they just have a decent selling season. So, but yeah, it's going to get down to I shouldn't say it's going to get down to very ridiculously low levels, but we don't know yet for another couple of weeks. And even some ranchers, they don't kill the breeders and until the first auction. So maybe they'll they're killing the pelts right now, and then they keep the females and a few males for breeding, and then typically they kill the breeders after, like the breeder males after they bred. But they could wait till say January or February, right before they breed the mink, and they see the auctions go off extremely cheap, and the rancher gets frustrated, and then he can still kill his females, and they're still basically sold into the regular market for mink. So we'll know a lot here in a couple of weeks, but we'll even know more January, February, as far as what's going to be produced.
Right. So the idea though of ranch raised fur a lot of times is the introduction point to a fur garment for the consumer. Is that still pretty valid? In other words, if they start out with a ranch mink, then they may be more interested in something in the wild fur line, or
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's really the case in China, especially in China.
okay.
A lot of like the Raccoon Coast, and we an influencer an influencer like Justin, um, and, has a huge following, and they throw on one of these, Raccoon Coast. The person could very easily have never had, and probably has never had a fur coat before,
Mhm.
and this influencer with this crazy dyed coat. Maybe the coat only takes 5 or 6 skins. It's short. It's whatever, and that may be the first fur they own.
Okay. So talking about beaver, what's the driving force? I mean, realize that they're all going to basically Stetson hats. That's the hatter market.
Yeah, it's not just Stetson. I mean, Stetson, Resistol, the hat brands over here, is a big thing. And I mean, I think maybe I talked to it even on this show. Yellowstone, the TV show, has really helped that in popularity. And it doesn't take that many people, to get excited about a Stetson hat to start to move the market. If you think about it, we're at kind of traditional or historic low levels of production of beavers. And, um, if you start to take, a beaver only yields around 12, 13, 14%, of underwool for the hat. A pound and a half beaver is, basically maybe one hat or even a little less,
Mhm.
excuse me. So, it's, how many beavers were produced in North America last year? Do you have an idea, Charlie?
I don't. How many?
I don't either, but I guess I would guess. You want to guess, Justin?
No, I have
I
no
don't.
idea.
200,
Maybe.
150,000?
Yeah, somewhere a little less than that, I'd say. Yeah, it's a pretty good guess. So that's for how many that many people have to get excited, and then there's the Hasidic market, which is it's a growing market. That the population is growing, and they all wear hats, and if they want to buy a nice one, they have beaver in it. So that's also a growing segment. And then the dress hat is unfortunately, there's lockdowns in China, but in China they use it. They do, they will use a dress hat, and they want to buy the best. It'll have beaver in it.
Mhm.
So yeah, there is really a pretty broad market, and it's a lot of it is rabbit, of course. That's the base for the entire industry. But if they to when you want to upgrade the item, to make it feel better in your hand or on your head or whatever, you put beaver in it, and you want it to look even better, you put more beaver in it. So yeah, it's definitely a robust market. We can use as many as we can get. I wish it was shearing beaver, which were $60 a piece, and we could use as many of those as we could get. But that's we got to deal, to take the hand we're dealt, and run with it. It's an item that readily marketable for us, readily marketable for the trapper. You can pull the caster out. Most people can sell the meat right now, and if you can't, look around, because there's a lot of dog guys that would love to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. The beaver all the way around is saleable. So,
So right, and I see it. I see a 5 year. Yeah, there you go. Look at this. I love it. Yeah, see, that's and you don't need many guys like him to make this market run, and I see 5 years for sure. You know, and we don't know what the upper limits of the price are. There are alternatives. They use rabbits, and if the beaver gets too high, well, they start to use a little less in their concoctions. And but overall, I see a pretty good run coming. I mean, I think the biggest thing is quantity. You know, that's going to be our biggest downfall. We need a lot. And if we can't produce at the price, our customers will look elsewhere. So and just in terms of keeping the fur business healthy, keeping a guy like me alive, we need quantities. And you drive the truck around, and I was out last night, and I was pretty busy. A lot of deer hides, some raccoon, and it's just not that easy, to convert a coon trapper, into a beaver trapper.
Mhm.
I mean, I used to think about it when when the coyote was hot, and you'd have a guy with they caught 300 raccoon every year, and he went out and set for coyotes. He'd come to the truck with two, and he was so frustrated. And it's a little bit the same way. I mean, it's maybe not quite as hard as coyote trapping, but you got to go up and down a creek bank. You gotta have different traps. There's certainly tricks to it, and it's not like setting for a muskrat or a raccoon. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you see the raccoon market?
Um, we're I talked a little bit about it already, but I mean, we can buy raccoon at the price we're buying, and we can sell them in pretty good quantities. We just can't. We just have no margin, with sell over there, and we attempt to raise the price all the time. We don't. It's not like we want to sell cheap over there, but if we want to continue to sell, we do have to be very reasonable. I mean, we cut every cost we possibly can. Everything goes over 45,000, to a container, to Cambodia to get dressed, and shipped into China in containers. We don't even fly them from Cambodia to China anymore. Yeah, I mean, it's the margins are just they're razor thin, and but we can sell a raccoon. I mean, and I know you guys are in the East a little bit, and Eastern raccoon is a very difficult sell because we pay the tax, on the raw skins going in, and it's only 13%. But you can only value the raccoon so cheap. You risk if you value them too cheap. The government may look at you sideways, and you get something confiscated or something because they think you're trying to smuggle. But if you value them at less than a certain price, it's you get looked at funny. So that's a risk. So you have to value them at something. You pay the tax on them, you pay the dressing on them, and you just sell them at such a cheap price. It's impossible to make money. They dye them crazy colors, and the darker Eastern type coon they just don't die like a Western coon. And so that's the problem. I mean, even big sized Eastern types, we're going to try and buy them this year. Some Eastern type coon are a little bit better. We'll do the best we can, but anything small or I just would not be a target animal for me this year.
Yeah. How about wild mink?
That's just goes right along with the ranch mink. Until that item improves a little bit. It's a tough sell. We buy them and dress them and ship them to China, and we take what we can get, and it's usually not much more than we pay for them.
Yeah. Red and gray foxes, guy.
Actually, the red fox market is maybe a tick stronger. The I guess the problem a little bit with the red fox is a little bit the same problem as the raccoon. Is in that a lot of the production is from poor sections, and the better section, red fox is definitely going to be worth a little bit more this year than last year. But that commercial section, that flat, that brassy fox, where most of the production happens, is unfortunately not where we can pay more money for it. But in the better sections, Wisconsin, Minnesota, even parts of Canada, Dakotas, that fox is just not harvested, especially a winter fox. You know what I mean? A December, right. January fox, it's just not harvested. I mean, you see guys, they go out when the weather's halfway decent, and then they're done, and so you don't get that fox harvested. So, and that's a little bit the same thing on the raccoon. When we see, we buy from basically, the Atlantic seaboard, all the way through coon country in the West. And, I was in Wisconsin last night, and I got some of my regulars there, but you just don't have those guys that are going to that trap 80 to 100 a year, and they stay out there till a little bit before Christmas in these colder sections. You know what I mean? I'm up in the almost to the middle of the state, and even across northern Iowa, across southern Minnesota, those guys they just it's it's not they're not going to fight the weather like they used to, and as a result, you end up with a bigger production of poorer section raccoons. Our customers in China, they certainly notice it in our goods. Year to year, they see a decrease in the heft or heaviness of the raccoon, the heaviness of the red fox. They see that it's not being trapped like it was.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Missouri, and if a guy loves to trap, he can trap in his shirt sleeves. Oftentimes even after Christmas. I mean, there's a lot of 60-degree days, even into January, and certainly 40-degree days. So they enjoy trapping, and they keep doing it, but they don't do it in the north.
Right. Coyotes. That's I think we all know the answer to this one, but any prospects on coyotes at all?
Yeah, we're obviously fighting the blue fox price on this one too. In the better sections, in the west, in the northwest, in Canada, where you've got a beautiful coyote that's a beautiful trimming item. You'd love to be able to still pay 40-50 bucks because a blue fox is 100, and a guy can make a choice that's in China or Europe or whatever, and dress with that coyote, or I'm sorry, trim with that coyote, but they just don't make that choice because the blue fox is so cheap. And when you get to the poorer sections in the east and in the south, it's not really a trimming item anyway, and that's going to be a very, very difficult item. I think that if we hadn't had such a production last year, I think the market would actually be better in the better sections. I think it was a disservice, to the market. I hate to call out names, and I won't say a name, but there was entities in the fur business saying that hey, the coyote market is fine, better sections last year, and the result of it is really an overproduction last year. Production similar to the year before. They all ended up at one place, and now they either gave them away or they're still sitting on them. Mm-hmm. And that just like the mink in Copenhagen, it casts a pall over the market, and it does nobody in this industry a service to tell stories. And it's really just like saying the rats were okay last year. They weren't. And to say they were, creates a huge, quantity up, at a auction company that now, everybody like me has to worry about. If I make a mistake when I'm buying and I end up with a bunch of goods, nobody knows about that. Those are in my freezer. I'm not offering those every, 6 months, to the market. Mm-hmm. But if it's a public entity, then everybody knows about it, and it really depresses the market further. I mean, I don't think it would be trouble to sell a good coyote, for 40-50 bucks in the good sections if we didn't have such a quantity produced last year.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. So the I guess bobcats, still fairly positive on those.
Just remember Bob, okay? Bobcat, otter, and beaver. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we're after. Yeah. The the market is certainly robust on bobcats. Bryce takes care of the bobcats for us, so I don't even talk to our customers really on them. But yeah, the Western types are maybe at levels that start to get expensive, already after last year. So I don't maybe not much better on those. The more commercial types, I think the better commercial types might be worth a little bit more this year. But all bobcats, will certainly be marketable this year. there's just not that many, and if the item is working, and it's, here again, we've got an item that, it just really doesn't compete with a mink. And it makes it kind of fun,
Mhm.
uh, it's just a totally different item when it's not something that's just going to China, and you gotta compete with mink on it.
And you had mentioned otters too, guys. So that's another positive as well.
Yeah, it's it maybe otter was a little more positive even a couple months ago, and it's still definitely worth more money than it was a year ago. But some of the lockdowns have happened mostly in the north in China, which is where some of the otters go. So that's it's been a little bit tough, but it's another item where it doesn't compete against a mink. Maybe a little bit because they make a few into hats, but they still use them for some religious purposes over there, and there's not a ton produced. And I think the otter market will be, it's definitely, I mean, I'm out buying and I'm definitely paying more than I was last year. So, sometimes, some of these items, if you were a trapper last year and you harvested, a beaver, you harvested, um, maybe not so much the cats, because the cats kind of came up, during the year last year. Most of those are harvested so late that, we bought those later and we already paid higher prices. But, for the most part, if you harvested beaver last year, or otter last year, you're looking at, sometimes, at least a double on the beavers, as far as what the price is, and, maybe 50% higher on otters. So, if you're a water trapper in those areas where there, are a quantity of those two items, it's definitely going to be a more fun season, this year than last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty positive. If you were talking
Yeah. I mean,
talking double, then.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was in an area, Wisconsin, over the weekend where there's no beavers, it was a little bit of a,
Yeah.
it's a deal for those guys. They said, yeah, there's no water here. And we don't, I went, 30 miles south of that area. I had a guy, roll in with, 50 beavers in the back of his truck, green, plus the caster. I mean, he was the happiest guy in the world. That's fun. That's fun buying from people like that. And it was just, actually, it was just into the Illinois, just over into Illinois. I was buying along the Wisconsin border. And he came up from Illinois and he's like, yeah, I've got beavers everywhere. He said, I can't keep up with, all the calls. And yeah, he probably gets, something from the landowner as well. And, it's going to be one of his best seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely some optimism, and hopefully maybe the coon, uh, you know, thing continues to work a little bit with our customers over there. I mean, we promote the heck out of it. We do a service for these people that, we dress these raccoon, we dye them, we even, our customers even help them with patterns. I mean, we do everything. We finance it over there. We finance it to get to our customer, and then we even finance it until, until our customer gets paid, from that customer.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, we go to the ends of the earth, to make this coon thing happen, because, we live in a raccoon area,
Sure.
and, that's the item that we want, to make work more than anything else. I mean, even with these prices, I mean, I went out last night, I bought some decent quantities, and, I think when I come back through the next time, there'll be, certainly even more. So we're working, we're promoting all the time.
The uh, you're continuing to post your routes on your site, Guy, on your website.
Yep. Yep. Yes, we are.
Okay. Okay. So,
Are you coming by our shop?
Um, let's talk. Okay. I tell you, it is a difficult situation in that area, in that it is, so predominantly, raccoon and coyotes. And, let me see what we can do. Get the word out that, for them to catch as many beavers as they can. And, maybe, on the heavy rats, the rats from the better sections of Indiana, we're certainly, going to have some interest in those. But give us a couple weeks on that. Let's see how things play out, and we'll try to help you out a little bit. Okay.
That would, that would be good. So you had mentioned about your sustainability.
Yeah, we are working on a sustainability program, and it's for our basically, which is interesting. We started out, doing something. We were thinking maybe we could, help out our hatter people here, that were selling hats, with a, proclamation of sustainability and traceability. And, we thought, well, because, it's very senseless to kind of do this if you're not selling anything, to the, it's hard to say, hey, let's do a sustainability for raccoon coats sold in the United States. Well, what are you going to put a tag on, 10 garments, So we thought, well, maybe we'd work with the hatter people and, with our sustainability pledge. And then somebody in our office had the idea, hey, why don't we work with our Chinese customers instead? And so we asked them what they thought. And, they were sort of skeptical at first. And they talked to the influencer that does most of the sales. And, she was just like, so excited. And because she thinks it can, create a more middle class market, for her products, because that's what the middle class is interested in. And I've been really diving into this, recently, and I really see kind of an interesting perspective since I've kind of dived into this sustainability thing. And I think the thing that I think what's killed the fur business over the past 40 years is in the West is this. I think that our parents were children of the Depression and of World War II, and so was Europe, obviously. And they were not a consuming generation. And I grew up, in a household that was not a consuming, family, and so probably did Charlie. And we kind of rejected that. We wanted to buy all this disposable stuff and throw it away. And fur, what it represented to my generation was something you couldn't throw away. We want to buy stuff at IKEA, and throw it away in 2 years. And, clothes are just like that. Fast fashion, the past 40 years, you can buy a pair of jeans today for what you could buy a pair of jeans for, when I was in high school. And, that's troubling for the fur business because we were a quality item that, could, in some sense, last more than a generation. And we just didn't want to buy it as a people because that's what it represented. And I think what's happening in our culture right now is something that's could be beneficial to the fur business, and that is that we are this new generation, the generation of my children. They don't want to consume stuff. They don't want to own stuff. They want to buy something and they want to use it, for more than 3 months. They want to use it maybe for 3 seasons, and I see that as being something that could be really positive for our industry. Mm-hmm. Change that. I think the industry should have probably turned into a throwaway industry. We should have promoted it to the consumer as, hey, wear this fur garment for 1 season and throw it away. We would have been a lot better off. I mean, most of the furriers in this country, that was their first line is, hey, we'll store this coat for you, for the next 10 season and make $200 every time we store that coat for you. That's what the furrier wanted to do in this country, and they killed themselves by doing it. Yeah. By telling, hey, we'll store it and we'll keep it forever. Well, a person that my generation doesn't want to go into a store and hear that they've got to keep this stupid thing for 10 years. But the new generation, the new generation in sustainability is not going to be so much about what the product is, but how long the product will last, and how long or how many times we can repurpose it. Maybe the fact that we can make it into a pillow when we're done with the coat. Maybe that's the greatest thing about a fur. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be length of use. It's going to the consumer is going to have to be a part of the sustainability movement instead of the entire industry changing to meet the consumer's needs. Mm-hmm. So I see this as really important for the fur business. People say, well, is it too late here? Well, I don't know. It's certainly not too late in China. My customers are so excited about putting our tag on it. It's going to be called Nesta, and we're starting to do a few TikToks with it right now. But we're going to be working really diligently in China, and we're going to try and make the label worth something to our customers there. and it's going to represent, you know, an anti-polyester, you know, movement. I mean, it's going to, you know, we're going to say right on our website, you know, we don't believe in using plastics for clothes. You know, that's what we believe. We believe in using stuff that deteriorates in a landfill. We believe in, you know, using a garment for, you know, 3 seasons instead of 3 per season. That's the kind of thing that we're going to be a part of in China, and we feel like we have nothing to lose. You know, no. The fur business has taken a defensive stance in the past 40 years, and I think it's the worst thing we could have done. Since I was a child, the fur business is, you know, because I've been involved in the fur business my whole life. That's the stance they've taken, and I think it's silly and darn right idiotic, to be truthful. Yeah. And you know, we are the business, or we are the textile material that has been used for, you know, millennia. And you know, we were the earth was a lot more sustainable when we were using fur, you know, solely than it is now. And that's what I think that's what we're going to proclaim. And you know, we're just going to roll the dice with it because we don't care. You know, we don't have anything to lose, especially here.
No, it's
and we believe in it. You know, we do. I do. I believe in it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great movement. My son comes home from college, and you know, today, and you know, he tells me, you know, that he doesn't want to own anything. You know, he doesn't want to buy a bunch of stuff. He doesn't even want to have a lot of hobbies. He just wants to have a couple and only have the nice things, you know, of those hobbies. And that's I think that's something that we can attach the fur business to, and it's the next generation.
And then the sustainability on the production of it as well. Are you guys taking that angle too, or?
Yeah, sure. You know, I think that the fur business is going to have to also, you know, be willing to maybe not, I don't want to say give something up. You know, that always just scares people. You know, but you know, for one thing, you know, every guy at my truck last night, you know, signed a pledge. You know, well, you know, maybe that pledge has to turn in, you know, to an online test. You know, that they have to be, you know, just like you know, hey, I used as least amount of, you know, fuel as possible to harvest these animals. I attempted, you know, to use the meat, you know, in any way for animal or human consumption that I possibly could. You know, that we always have to strive to make our industry, you know, sustainable. I mean, think about a beaver trapper. You know, a guy where there's a heavy population. You know, he goes out, you know, and harvests, you know, a dozen beaver right around his place. He saves, you know, 25 trees as a result, sequesters, you know, tons of carbon, and he comes home. He skins that beaver out. He sells the hide to me, you know, for the hatter business. He, you know, cuts off the tail, sells that. They use the insides of the tail for fishing lures. They use the meat for a guy that is a dog sled guy. And they sell the skull for a you know, something ornamental, and they sell the casters, you know, for perfume production. I mean, you know, what is more sustainable than that?
Right.
You know, and plus maybe he got $50, you know, from a landowner that's raising corn that, you know, saves the, you know, the destruction of his cornfield, which, you know, we need to, you know, to feed the world, you know. So, you know, it's we have a perfect, you know, sustainability story, but we're going to have to be able to, you know, maybe make a few sacrifices, you know, to get that story out. You know, maybe we'll have to take a test. Or maybe I don't want to say a test, but maybe we'll have to, you know, do a little more than just signing a piece of paper and, you know, saying that, hey, you know, even as a person, I'm willing, you know, to take these steps, you know, and, you know, I'll be that great person that's a fur seller, and our whole supply chain is really a sustainable sustainable chain.
Yeah, I think like you said, we don't have anything to lose.
That's how I feel.
There's nothing. There is no. I don't see any particular downside to that at all. I mean, or any downside to that at all. Anyway, so
yeah, I don't either. You know, I mean, I want to make my life more sustainable. You know.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the thing the past few years, is this idea of sustainability, whether in whatever, you know, that we're talking about. So and stuff that's produced for the consumer. So
yeah, and sustainability, the idea of it is definitely changing. I mean, over the course of the last 5 days, I mean, if you looked in, major, news media, there was a lot written on the new ideas of sustainability. I mean, fast fashion over this last weekend just got pounded, absolutely pounded. And, I mean, I think that people in 5 years, and you can say you heard it here first, I think if you're a fast fashion consumer in 5 years, you'll be shamed, just like, it'll be a politically incorrect thing to be. I really feel that.
Yeah.
So,
Guy, you got anything else you want to wrap this up with?
No, not really, I guess. We're running our trucks, and we're trying to be as aggressive as possible. Trap beaver, trap otter, trap bobcats, rats. We're really working on, So I hope maybe we'll have a little bit better news coming forward on rats, and go out there and have some fun. And you've got some items that definitely are higher than last year, some items that are a little tough, but obviously we're not all in for the money anymore.
No, that's it.
So anyway, hey, thanks a lot, guys, for having me on.
Hey, we appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
It's always a pleasure.
Yep, thank you.